Hello guys, good morning everybody. Welcome to our YouTube channel. If I'm audible, let me know. Hanji guys, I'm audible. Hanji, whether I'm audible or not, do let me know. Audible. Okay, shall we start the session then? Right. So yes. Okay. So let me come to directly to the important news, right? So nothing there in the front page. So I'm gonna directly come to the okay. Now this is a very interesting news that is directly coming from PM launches internet cable project in Lakshadweep. Now, one of the things that we have to understand is when I talk about Lakshadweep, it is a kind of an isolated area from the rest of the country, right? We have the two main island groups, that is Lakshadweep and Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Lakshadweep has 36 island groups, and when we talk about Andaman and Nicobar, it has 572 islands. So, one of the problem that had been faced by Lakshadweep was that they didn't have much better connectivity of the internet, or what we can call it as they had a limited satellite bandwidth. As a result, when we talked about internet connection, the speed wasn't there as compared to the rest of the country. So our prime minister has inaugurated a Kochi Lakshadweep submarine optical fiber cable project that will be implemented around a cost of 1072 crore, and that will connect the island to the high speed internet for the very first time after years of relying on limited satellite bandwidth. The undersea cable link will ensure 100 times faster internet for the people of Lakshadweep. Kavrati's Lakshadweep capital will be connected along with the islands of Agati, Amini, Kadmat, Chetlat, Kalpani, Minikoy, Androth, Kiltan, Bangram, and Bitra. Now, this is very important point that you guys have to understand, that what are the various islands that we have in Lakshadweep that will be connected by this Kochi Lakshadweep submarine optical fiber cable project. I am repeating the names of the islands. If you want to write down in your notes, you can write it down in your notes as well. What are the names? These are Kavrati, Agati, Amini, Kadmat, Chetlat, Kalpani, Minikoy, Androth, Kiltan, Bangram, and Bitra, right? So this is the type of a question you can have in your examination as well, because our prime minister is inaugurated. So they won't be asking related to the question like this, that where it has been inaugurated, but they can ask certainly questions like on this particular framework, that which are the various islands that are there in the Lakshadweep. So if you know them, you will be able to answer them. I hope this point is clear to everybody, and it is a very simple article, right? Okay. Now, coming to the next part. Now, this is very interesting news that says about Navy steps up surveillance in Arabian Sea and Gulf of Aden. Now, I will tell you later on news that where there has been a serious, what we can call it as a what we can call it proper hiccups that are being created, that has been created recently. अगर हम रेड सी की बात करते हैं, स्ट्रेट ऑफ बबल मंदब की बात करते हैं, राइट, अरेबियन सी की बात कर लें, if we talk about Gulf of Aden, we know that what has been happening in the Red Sea and what are the various attacks that have been conducted. Our particular, if we talk about vessel, was also what we can call it was also attacked upon. As a result, what the government is doing, what the Navy is doing, they are stepping up their surveillance in Arabian Sea as well as in Gulf of Aden. That is very important right now, considering the situation that is there in the case of Red Sea as well. Now, one thing you have to understand is Israel Hamas war has not been only restricted to Gaza. Now it has gone beyond Gaza. It has come to Red Sea, and it is now somewhere there in the Indian Ocean as well. That is why countries like India needs to be more vigilant. They needs to step up their intelligence facilities, right? They need to step up their surveillance facilities, because this war is going beyond Gaza, and USA has become also involved in this war as well, right? Now, next important news, as you can see on your newspaper, is SpaceX Falcon 9 will be launching India's GSAT-20, that satellite which is going to spread broadband coverage. Now, one other thing you have to understand is that there is a one commercial arm of ISRO that is known as New Space India Limited. So this is a point that you have to remember, put it in your notes if you haven't already written in your notes, that ISRO की अगर हम commercial arm की बात करते हैं, तो वो commercial arm कौन सी है? It is the what we call it as New Space India Limited. Second point that we have to understand is that this GSAT 20 is a high throughput satellite which will be fully owned, operated and funded by New Space India Limited. Now this is the second point that we have to understand. Third point we have to understand related to this is that this satellite would be having a capacity of 32 beams that would have pan India coverage, and it will also include Andaman and Nicobar Islands as well as the Lakshadweep Islands. So this is the third point that we have to understand in relation to what we talk about GSAT 20. एक तो ये spread करेगी broadband coverage. Second, it would be spreading across all India, that is Andaman, Nicobar and Lakshadweep Island as well. And it would be installed on SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket. तो ये चीज हमें पता होनी चाहिए. And what we know about Falcon 9, it is a reusable two-stage rocket that has been designed and manufactured by Elon Musk founded company for the reliable and the safe transport of people and payloads into Earth orbit and beyond. I hope this point is clear to everybody कि ये जो स्पेस एक्स है ये इलॉन मस्क की कंपनी है और इनका जो फैल्कन 9 है इट इज बेसिकली रिलेटेड टू satellite broadband coverage only, right? So it is a reusable two stage, what we can call it as a rocket that has been designed by the Elon Musk company, that is SpaceX Falcon 9. I hope this point is clear to everybody, very very important, so you can understand that how this commercial arm is working right now, that is a New Space India Limited, right? So it is making sure that there is this thing going on related to private and the commercial sector in the when we talk about in the field of space technology, right guys? Okay, now moving to the next part. आज इन्होंने साइंस पेज पहले दे दिया है, राइट? सो लेट्स ट्राई टू डिस्कस दिस आर्टिकल. इट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, डायरेक्टली मेनली इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर आवर प्रीलिम्स 2024. From the moon to the Europa, 6 space missions to be excited for in 2024. See, if we talk about 2023, there were two important missions that were launched. One was India's Chandrayaan 3 mission that was to use to explore the lunar South Pole region, and NASA's OSIRIS-REx mission that was to return a sample from an asteroid, right? So these were the two missions that were launched that were successful in 2023. One was NASA's mission OSIRIS-REx related to asteroid, and one is related to Chandrayaan 3 के हम वो explore कर रहे थे if we talk about moon का South Pole. Now let's try to discuss the missions that are being planned for 2024. First of all in the list is the Europa Clipper. Now NASA, if we have to remember the name of the agency, which country's agency will be launching these missions, right? So पहला mission है Europa Clipper का. It will be launched by NASA that will explore one of the Jupiter's largest moon. If we talk about Jupiter's moon, one of the largest moon of Jupiter is Europa, and Europa, when we compare it with Earth's moon, it is a little smaller with a surface that is made of ice, and beneath its icy shell Europa likely harbors a saltwater ocean which scientists expect contains over twice as much water as all the oceans here on Earth combined. I think you must be able to understand why they are interested in exploring this one of the moon of the Jupiter, that is Europa. With Europa Clipper, the mission of the NASA, scientists want to investigate whether Europa's ocean could be a suitable habitat for extraterrestrial life. I hope this point is clear to everybody, because there is availability of water, so there are possibilities that there could be an extraterrestrial life on the surface of this when we talk about this Jupiter's largest moon, that is Europa, and it is being planned for 2024, and it is a mission of NASA. I hope you will be able to remember this particular first mission that we have discussed. Now come to the second mission. This is again another mission of NASA. It is the Artemis second launch, and it is under Artemis program that has been named after Apollo's twin sister in Greek mythology. Is NASA's plan to go back to the moon. It will for the very first time send humans to the moon for the first time since 1972, including the first woman and the first person of color. It also includes plans for longer term sustained presence in space that will prepare NASA for eventually sending people even farther to Mars. So basically, when I'm talking about Artemis 2 program, it is a first crude step in this plan with 4 astronauts plan on board during this 10-day mission that would be used to go back to the moon. So this is very important. It will happen after 1972, that this is a crewed mission that would be sent by the NASA mission or the NASA space agency when we talk about in context of sending the people to the moon. After that, they would be exploring under Artemis program only to send the people to Mars as well. So this is the Artemis second launch. Now come to the third mission. It is known as Viper. It is again of NASA. Now Viper stands for Volatile Investigating Polar Exploration Rover. So one of the thing we can understand is that there would be a certain rover that is being used. So this rover is something like a robot that is the size of a golf cart that NASA will be using and will use to explore moon's south pole in late 2024. Same thing that has been done by India to explore the South Pole. Same, this Viper rover would be used by NASA to explore the South Pole in late 2024. Originally, it was planned in 2023, but NASA has pushed the mission back to complete more tests on the lander system. I hope this point is clear to everybody. ये Viper एक rover है जो use करा जाएगा to land on the moon के South Pole के ऊपर. Okay. Now the fourth mission over here is Lunar Trailblazers and Prime 1. Again, it is related to moon only. Now this has been, NASA has recently invested in a class of small low cost planetary missions called Simplex, which stands for simple, small, innovative mission for planetary exploration. This mission will save cost by tagging along on other launches as what is called as rideshare or secondary payload. One example is the Lunar Trailblazers. Like Viper, it will look for water on the moon. So this is something what we can call it as a mission that is being used, that could be used for secondary and other purposes as well, right? To launch other payload as well. And this would be basically doing what? This would be looking for the water in the moon when I'm talking about Lunar Trailblazer. I hope this point is clear to everybody. And related to Prime 1, Prime will drill into the moon. It's a test run for the kind of drill that Viper will use, but its launch date will likely depend on whether earlier launchers go on time. So this is kind of what we can say related to Viper mission, because Viper has to land on moon. So before that, there has to be this Prime 1 mission that will basically drill on the moon. Now these were the four missions that I have already told you: Europa Clipper, Artemis 2nd, Viper, Lunar Trailblazers and Prime 1. These are all the part of the missions that have been launched by NASA. Now comes to when we talk about Japan. जापान का एक मिशन जाने वाला है मार्शियन मून एक्सप्लोरेशन. नाउ दिस would be study the Mars moons, right? Now I'm talking about not about moon, Earth's moon, but we are talking about Mars moons by the name of Phobos and Deimos. Very important. Remember this name. This is a mission of Japan that would be using to explore the moons of the Mars, which are Phobos and Deimos. I hope this point is clear to everybody. And finally, what we have is the ESA's HERA mission, HERA mission, that would be used basically of European Space Agency to return to the Dimorphos asteroid system. So this is an asteroid system that was earlier visited by NASA's DART mission as well in 2022. Remember the name, European Space Agency's HERA mission, which is being used to return to the Dimorphos asteroid system. आई होप दिस एस्पेक्ट इज क्लियर टू एवरीबडी. यहाँ पे 4 मिशन नासा के हैं, एक जापानीज एरोस्पेस एक्सप्लोरेशन एजेंसी का है, जक्सा भी बोल सकते हो, और एक है यूरोपियन स्पेस एजेंसी का हेरा मिशन दैट वुड बी गोइंग टू Dimorphos asteroid system. I hope this point is clear to everybody, and I'm telling you this is one of the potential prelims question. Okay, now moving to the next part. इस बार साइंस का पेज पहले था, यहाँ पे कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है, राइट? यहाँ पे ऐसा कोई आर्टिकल आ जैसा यहाँ पे फ्रंट पेज पे तो नहीं है इंपॉर्टेंट, बट दिस इज अ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग आर्टिकल. It is talking about India's debt burden. I think if you are reading the news, you must have heard about a recent news that by 2027 or by 2028, there could be a scenario where India's government debt could be 100% of GDP. इंडिया का गवर्नमेंट डेट कितना हो सकता है? इट कुड बी 100% ऑफ जीडीपी, एंड देयर इज अ वेरी हाई रिस्क कि हमारे जो हमने बोरोइंग कर रखी है, जो हमारे डेट हैं, जो हमारे लॉन्ग टर्म डेट हैं, दे आर हाई बिकॉज if we talk about India, we need considerable requirement of investment, what for our basically अगर हम बात करें climate change mitigation, for our development needs and for our financing needs as well. दिस इज अ पॉइंट दैट वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड कि जब हम इंडिया के डेट की बात करते हैं, हमारा डेट क्यों बढ़ता जा रहा है? बिकॉज वी रिक्वायर money to address the issue of climate change for our development needs and for our financing needs as well. Now, this is the point that has been discussed over here, and it has been discussed very beautifully, and it has been addressed in a very right manner. And this is also a potentially prelims based article as well as a mains based article. Now, let's try to understand what they are trying to say. Now, what they are trying to say over here is, first they are talking about at the global level. They are saying at the global level, we know one thing, that government borrowings always play a very important role in accelerating development. But one of the things that they have to understand is that this weight of the debt can be a very, very problematic thing, right? As it has been noted by the United Nations that countries are facing the impossible choice of servicing their debt or servicing their people. बड़ा difficult choice है, क्या वो अपने डेट को पूरा करें या अपने लोगों को सर्विस करें? According to United Nation in 2022, 3.3 billion people live in those countries that spend more on interest payments than on education or health. Now, this is a very, we can say, mind-boggling figure that is coming directly from this article कि 3.3 बिलियन लोग उन कंट्रियों में रहते हैं जहां पे लोगों ने इतना कर्जा ले रखा है कि वो कर्जा किसके लिए यूज कर रहे हैं? इन ऑर्डर टू रिटर्न द इंटरेस्ट पेमेंट्स रादर देन फोकसिंग ऑन एजुकेशन और हेल्थ. Now, when we see over the data, over the few years, the data, global public debt की अगर हम बात करें, it has increased more than fourfold since 2000, while global GDP has only tripled. Very interesting. हमारा जो ग्लोबल, अगर हम पब्लिक डेट की बात कर रहे हैं, बहुत ज्यादा बड़ा है, 4 गुना बड़ा है एज कंपेयर टू जीडीपी. दैट हैज ओनली बीन इंक्रीज 3 times. In 2022, global public debt reached a record $92 trillion. I'm telling you, this is a direct prelims fact. Global public debt reached record $92 trillion. Developing countries accounted for almost 30% of the total. Now we take into account all of the public debt, global public debt, then developing countries has a how much share? They have a share of 30%. And out of that 30%, 70% is attributable to China, India, and Brazil. This is an important fact that I wanted to tell you, that when we talk about global public debt, it has increased fourfold as compared to GDP. And when we see between developed and developing, it has been more developing countries. But when it comes to developing countries, 70% of it can be attributable to China, India, and Brazil. And the rise of the debt is more in developing countries. Why? Because of their growing development financing needs, cost of living crisis, and climate change. This is the point that we have to understand. Because private sector is not investing that much in addressing the issue of climate change, developed countries are not giving the money to address the issue of climate change. So what they have to do? So they have to rely on borrowing. That is the only way they can address the issues of climate change. They can go for mitigation, they can go for adaptation. As a result, what we are witnessing right now is that if we talk about India right now, let's try to see the figures, right? If we talk about India की कहीं ना कहीं अगर हम S&P की ग्लोबल रेटिंग्स देखते हैं, फिच की रेटिंग्स देखते हैं, दे हैव degraded our what we say credit rating. We are at BBB minus, right? So one of the thing we have to understand is कि हमारा जो पब्लिक डेट टू जीडीपी है वो बहुत ज्यादा बढ़ चुका है. If we see, union government's debt was 57.1% of GDP at the end of March 2023, and the debt of state government was around 28% of GDP. Now, finance ministry has said that debt to GDP has barely increased from 2005. कि 2005 में तो यार वो तो 81% था, हमारे टाइम पे 21 में 84% आया, and by 2022 it has gone back to 81. So they are trying to compare it with 2006, but they are forgetting one thing, that in the FRBM amendment that was reviewed by NK Singh, there was an amendment that said that total public debt to GDP shall be around which margin? 60%. That is center ka 40%, states ka 20%. And right now what we are witnessing, that centers debt to GDP is 57.1%, and if we talk about states debt to GDP, it is around 28%. That is hovering around 81%. And what was the required figure that we wanted to have? Around 60%. That is why the IMF is saying that there could be a possibility that India's debt to GDP could be around how much? 100% of GDP. That means एक टाइम ऐसा हो सकता है कि अगर आपके देश में कोई चीज प्रोड्यूस हो रही है, उसकी वैल्यू 100 रुपया है, तो हो सकता है कि आपने 100 का 100 रुपया जो प्रोड्यूस किया है वो बाहर से बोरो करके किया है, बिकॉज योर डेट कुड बी 100% ऑफ जीडीपी. So this is the point they are trying to say. But against this point, they are trying to say that despite India's good revenue collection that has happened over GST, income tax, corporate tax, India's fiscal slippage is happening. Why? Because we are expending a lot, not in capital, but in revenue expenditure, like on the employment guarantee schemes, on subsidies, on budgeted fertilizer subsidies, on the finances that are being raised under MG Narega, and election year is also near. So this is the way they are basically warning us about that there are a lot of problems related to India's debt, and we have to address the issue in a very rightful manner. I hope this point is clear to everybody. You are able to understand what is the condition of global public debt to GDP. Developing countries has more public debt. Consider the case of India. Yes, it has decreased as compared to what we can say related to 2005-6, but the things that we promised in 2018 in NK Singh panel, it has not been able to achieve, and there could be a possibility that we would be spending more in the upcoming years considering how much we are providing the subsidies. हाँ जी, यहां तक क्लियर है सभी को? Okay, now this is related to United Liberation Front of Assam. We have already discussed this article, right? Nothing more than that, but just I'm gonna read you the gist, right? So if I talk about ULFA, it is a byproduct of the anti-foreigners Assam agitation that began in 1979 and ended with signing of Assam Accord. There was a fear that the Assamese and other indigenous communities would be pushed out of their own backyard by illegal migrants that were people coming from Bangladesh one day that triggered the agitation. While social organizations and students choose the path of agitation, a group of radicals, including Arbinder Rajkhova, Anup Chetia, and Presh Brua, founded the ULFA on April 7, 1979, to launch an armed struggle with the objective of establishing a sovereign Assam. So this is a point that we have to understand, that ULFA is basically against the entry of outsiders, because there was a fear among the natives of the Assam that they could be robbed of the employment opportunities, social opportunities, and the economic opportunities by the infiltration of the people that were coming from Bangladesh. So as a result, this movement was started by the student organization, but it took a radical turn, and that resulted in the formation of United Nation Front of Assam. Now this group has took a decade to recruit, fighter, train its members in Myanmar, China, and Pakistan before striking with series of abductions and executions. The government responded in 1990 with an offensive code named Operation Bajrang and banned the ULFA. Very important. This could be directly asked in the examination. What was Operation Bajrang related to? According to the memorandum of settlement, now the new peace agreement that has been signed, the ULFA has agreed to renounce violence, disarm, disband the armed organization, vacate their occupied camps, participate in peaceful democratic process established by the law. So this is a point that we have to see whether it comes fruitful or not related to the peace building process that has been started with United Nation Front of Assam. Right, guys? Okay. Now moving to the next part. Now there would be certain news that would be important, right? जैसे कि मैं आपको दिखा रहा था, explosions reported near ship in Bab al Mandeb. This is all related to the war that has spread beyond Israel and Gaza. Now let's try to look in the map. Where is this Strait of Bab al Mandeb? As you can see over here, this is Bab al Mandeb. हाँ जी, सबको दिखाई दे रहा है? This is between Eritrea and Yemen. This strait that is separating these two countries. This is a narrow strip of water you can see over here. This is Strait of Bab al Mandeb that is separating Eritrea and Yemen. हाँ जी, सबको visible है ये? हाँ जी, quickly tell me. Yes, now you can see over here, this was the issue I was talking about, that India has increased its surveillance in this area, Arabian Sea and Gulf of Aden, that is leading to Bab al Mandeb, and that is leading to Red Sea. Now this is the problem that I'm trying to tell over here, that the Houthi rebels, because of the problems that have originated in Israel and Gaza, has started to attack the container and the what we can say container vessels, commercial ships in this region of what we can call it as a Red Sea. That is very important for the trade route as well, right? यहाँ से अगर हम आप देखोगे ये स्विस कैनाल जा रहा है, right? So इजिप्ट को बहुत ज्यादा नुकसान हो रहा है because there is a very diversion of traffic that is now taking place, and now the traders are looking for alternative routes instead of going towards this. But still, when we see the African countries and the let's say Muslim countries around this area who have been affected by the trade because of the lower volume of the trade that is now going from this particular route because of the regular attacks, they are still not participating against the Houthi rebels because they are fighting for a cause that is for the support of the people of the Gaza. This is the position that is getting clear according to me, and USA is trying to unconditional provide support to the Israel that they have already provided, whether it is United Nations resolution, whether they are attacking the vessels over here in Red Sea. I hope this point is clear to everybody. राइट तो पेपर में ये डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चन आ सकता है कि रेड सी के साथ कौन सी कंट्रीज है, ये स्विस कैनाल के साथ, ये पर्शियन गल्फ के साथ, अरेबियन सी कहां पे है, गल्फ ऑफ एडन के पास. तो दिस इज द पॉइंट दैट वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड एंड वी हैव टू रिमेंबर इट वेरी वेरी क्लियरली. राइट, चलिए नाउ मूविंग टू द नेक्स्ट पार्ट. ओके, नाउ यूनाइटेड किंगडम में अगर हम बात करें, वेरी डेंजरस स्टॉर्म हैज कम दैट इज बाय द नेम ऑफ स्टॉर्म हैंक. राइट, सो दिस हंड्रेड्स ऑफ फ्लड वार्निंग्स हैव बीन इन प्लेस बिकॉज दिस इज द स्ट्रॉन्गेस्ट गस्ट that have been recorded from storm Hank, and the wind has reached around 151 kilometer per hour. So there have been various flood warnings, around 294 flood warnings had been issued, and this is one of the dangerous scenarios that has come up when we talk about in this new year. Right, earlier it had been Japan, but now as you can see over UK, they're high alert पे है because storm Hank has disrupted day to day life. तो ये पता होना चाहिए कौन सी स्टॉर्म आई है. राइट, ये आपको पता होगा हर साल पीएमआई इंडेक्स आता है, हर महीने आता है. अब ये मैन्युफैक्चरिंग के अंदर बता रहे हैं कि इट हैज गिवन गॉन टू 18 मंथ लो, दैट इज परचेजिंग मैनेजर इंडेक्स. राइट, आई थिंक सबको पता है ये मैन्युफैक्चरिंग इंडेक्स. सॉरी, ओके. So this is also another one news. India's palm oil imports have hit 4 month high in December. तो आपको पता होना चाहिए क्या क्या चीजें चल रही हैं. Right, and finally I think we are done with our today's analysis. Right, because science page we have already covered, and yes, we are done with our today's analysis. हाँ जी, किसी को कोई डाउट हो तो आप लोग पूछ सकते हो. Okay, so there was one comment that was I was witnessing yesterday, sir. Please be on the board. I would be on the board by Monday or Saturday, right? Don't worry about it, right? So there has been a little fog over here. So the studio is not in my home. I have to go to the academy when I take the class online, right? So because there has been a very dense fog, that is I am not able to take the class, right? Because थोड़ा सा भी fog का issue है ना? बहुत ज़्यादा dense fog है if you see the areas of Punjab, but gradually it will improve. And don't worry, by Saturday or Monday I would be there online. Don't worry about that, right? But don't forget this one thing, that you have to cover the newspaper. Forget me about that, you have to see me only. ठीक है, इस चीज को हमेशा मत रखो कि यार आपको सर आपको देखना है. इस चीज में कभी फोकस मत करो. फोकस करो कि यार हमारा न्यूज़पेपर कवर हो जाना चाहिए बस अच्छे से. This is a point that you have to look forward to. This is your strategy. This shall be your thinking and mindset. ठीक है, विच स्टेट यू आर इन? ऑब्वियसली आई स्टे इन पंजाब ओनली. राइट, चलिए, क्लोजर टू चंडीगढ़. Okay, so thank you so much guys. We will see each other now tomorrow same time, right? 9 a.m. Till then, you have any doubt you can ask me. हिंडनबर्ग रिपोर्ट वाज बेसिकली रिलेटेड टू दिस अडानीज प्रॉब्लम. राइट, हिंडनबर्ग ने रिपोर्ट किया था कि अडानी ने बुलिश रहा है और उन्होंने अपनी वेल्थ को बढ़ाया है. राइट, सो वो उसके रिलेटेड था. हाँ जी, और कोई डाउट किसी का? Shall we end the session then? Okay, guys. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye bye.